What's happening, guys? I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We have another Sunday video coming at you, this time for Thanksgiving week. Normally, I'd look forward to this week for some crazy moves, but that happens every week now. So we'll see what happens. But last week, full week for me, minus Monday. Monday was a travel day back from Traders for a Cause. And then Tuesday was a little choppy. Wednesday started to heat up. Thursday was big time. And then Friday was pretty slow until CYTO came along and ended up paying the bills. So that was a really nice opportunity. But it's just basically been waiting for those trades to come to us. If I'm trying to figure something out or try to anticipate a trade and it's just not, one of the trades that fall into my wheelhouse, then I've just been kind of treading water on those. If I wait for good opportunities and only trade those, that's when the action's been paying out really well. So again, it's just being patient, trading a lot less. Don't try to force it, and things have been great. But if you try to force it, if you're trying to catch up to what you used to do or whatever, then you're probably going to get chopped up. So that's that. I'm going to jump right into video topics for this week. And I wanted to talk a little bit about CYTO, a little bit about SGD, and a little bit of AIRE. But first, if you guys are interested, as always, my goal with Sunday videos is to, just kind of put as much good information out there as possible. I don't do a hard pitch 99.9% of the time on here. If you find value in what I say, then you probably end up in the community. If you don't, then that's fine. You can still watch the videos, and that's great. But if you are interested in getting into the community, as always, this is our pretty much only sale per year. Sometimes we do small things here and there, but these are always our best prices on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. That said, just like we did with Traders for a Cause, when we did the early bird, we did a much even better discount. And then those sold out extremely quickly, and it was limited number of tickets. And then if you still wanted to come, you can obviously still come, but you just pay the normal price. So that said, Friday will be our best sales of the day, but on tonight there's going to be a link, and those are going to be a little bit cheaper. So if you're interested and you've been on the fence and you're ready to become part of the community, then go for it. Those are going to be better prices than they will be on Friday, and there's going to be a limited number of spots for those. So again, if you want to become part of the community, now's your time. If not, all good. Continue to watch Sunday videos, and hopefully you find or at least benefit from them at some capacity. So, like I said, CYTO, I just kind of wanted to brush upon it. And again, we always dissect these and really get into it on the morning broadcast or throughout the day. But just the condensed version right here. You always see me kind of drawing out key levels and channels and being familiar with spots that need to exhaust out. You don't want to make yourself be the trader that covers into this push right over here. And how do you prevent that? So we talk about building in the room, swipe risk. In the event that 44 triggers, you don't want to be covering at 46, 47 only to see it, flush right back down in your face. So the concept here is making sure that you have enough room, identifying where the ceiling is, identifying where the support is, right? You've got the resistance, you've got the support. But if you tie yourself too close to either one, you're going to get chopped up. So in the event like this, the only way that I want to be patient with a trade, if I'm trading on the front side of the move, or in this case, the front side before it really confirms back under 38, I need to be proactive with covers until we get some sort of confirmation that the support line now becomes resistance. And you can see that support line becoming resistance here and then retesting again here for the unwind. So if you typically get in trouble on the front side of the move, your trade is over here. If you have good risk management, if you typically do cover into the flush and don't try to be a hero, nail the top, and then overstay and then end up in a squeeze, then obviously you have a nice setup over here as well. Nice clear out move. This is when you see me say the more that it trades over 44, the better. Even if I have a starter position, I want it to trade higher. I want it to keep on trading and pushing and and getting longs stuck, because eventually when it does pull back, if it does, that's the key word, if, then I know there's going to be a lot of people stuck on the wrong side of the move. And that's beneficial for me when that size that's on the wrong side comes back out. That's going to be my liquidity for the cover. One thing I wanted to talk about on something like this is the liquidity pockets, and we've talked about those quite a bit. And especially when you start to trade a little bit more size on these, it could even be 100,000 shares, right? It doesn't need to be huge size, but more often than not, I'm kind of talking about 200, 300, 500,000 shares where immediately 3 to 5 cents against you, there's no volume, right? And it's got a support level, and then it's pretty much air until the next level. So what happens is when you're trading these things and you have any decent amount of size, you actually need to be there one step ahead and not necessarily try to get the bottom every single time. You need to be there when the volume comes down, because if you don't, it thins up so much. And you can see how it thins right up, goes right back from basically 30 cents to 38 cents, 30 cents to 38 cents to 30 cents again, and then it goes down, does a double bottom, and you can see 25 cents all the way back up to almost 38. 5 cents to a dime on these types of moves on big size, that gets tiring, right? Up and down, up and down. So if you are sizing into these trades, for me, I like to be a little bit more proactive. Otherwise, just trade less size, keep a good average, and let it work. SGD, I wanted to kind of go over this one a little bit, but I'm going to save most of it because Chris, that we just did an interview with, is doing a video on it for us tomorrow. I saw it, looks pretty good, and we both kind of synced up with the same idea at the same time, and it worked out extremely well. So SGD was a great opportunity, and the reason for that is because special situation. I had tweeted out early on that this was pretty much a special situation type of trade. Why? Why did I care? So RW came out. That was a registration withdrawal. And so Chris is going to dive into that. But that was the first thing that put it on radar that morning. On top of that, you flash back a couple days, had a bunch of volume, 4 million shares down to 400,000 shares. Those of you guys that paid attention for any of these Sunday videos know what I look for and the percentages on a liquidity trap. Once it gets back over those prior highs, the 115s, have an imagination. If it starts to compound, that's when we have those outlier moves. So this one had closed circuit halts. We had opportunity. We had a trap at 170. That's when I started to get involved in a bigger capacity. And then it was just circuit to circuit to circuit from there, and shorts slowly got blown out. Whether or not that was a margin type thing or whether or not it was forced buy-ins, it doesn't matter. It worked out. It went circuit to circuit, and it was highly predictable. So good opportunity there. I know a lot of shorts got smoked there, and a lot of shorts are not even let out yet. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting week. And because of that, just like, again, Chris had said on his interview, he talked about sort of the anchor, right? And SGB pulled SGBX up with it. And we also had MRAI. And the reason why MRAI went is because they also had a recent registration withdrawal. So what happens is people start to say, okay, why this one move? All right, they had this, they had that. All right, well, these ones have this, these ones have that. And then everybody starts to go chase the next one. So that's why MRAI went, as well as SGBX. SGBX was a direct sympathy because the share conversion relation that they have. And then MRAI was sort of not necessarily the sector, but more of a theme, because the theme right now is chase everything with a RW filing. So those were the two big opportunities for me last week, CYTO and SGD. And then on the long side, I also had AIRE, which was another liquidity trap, which was just kind of playing out, worked out really, really well. They never let shorts out. We talked about the wicks. They let shorts win into the close. But we saw that 1180 continued to base, continued to hold, and we did not have any blow-off move at that point yet. We finally had that blow-off move on Thursday. And again, remember, if you are betting on Black Swan every single time, more often than not, you're going to be disappointed. So we got the $11 move to 15, well, $11 to 15 blowout, and then it sat back down. If you're staying and waiting for 20, 30, or 50 for some black swan, your probability is going to go way down. Your risk is going to go way up, right? The exhaustion move happened. So once the liquidity trap plays out, I'm done with that trade. And at that point, I was looking for failed follow through versus that 1180s, right? 1180s was the key support. Now, if it's resistance, I like it for a fade and likely ends up raising and fading off back down to $1 or $2 or whatever it ends up doing. So we'll see what happens. But the key takeaway that I want you guys to think about, liquidity traps have been amazing lately. That has been the play. I've been doing so many longs lately. But if you are overstaying and waiting and looking for the next SGD on every single trade, more often than not, you're going to end up in a bad spot, right? You're going to end up giving a whole bunch back. Stick with the high probability trades. All right, so moving on. As always, I am not a financial advisor. These are not buy or sell recommendations, and this is for educational and informational purposes only. So the main watches for the week ahead, CYTO. Really good opportunities this week, and it even came back after hours, which is good to see. I would love to see it with a big gap up, 5, 8 cents, whatever, kind of push back up towards those 40s and then fade off. That would be ideal. You don't have to be first in. Let it blow everybody out. Let it fail to follow through, and we should have a really big opportunity there. GPS, another nice one. This was a gap and grind kind of idea, and it joined the trend. I participated in this failed follow through. I did not get long, unfortunately. But again, I'd be looking for either 20, 30 cent kind of gap down and then rally back, or I'd be looking maybe for like a 18 kind of 20 to 1850 blow off and then fade off. So either a gap and fade back, or a gap down and then rally back for the breakout. Those are the two things I would be prepared for. People will say, well, you're not really saying much. You're not really picking a side. That's not what it's about. It's about having two plans in this situation and being able to react to both. So now, instead of getting prepared for one trade, it not panning out, now at least you still have a trade. So again, that's how a lot of times I prepare for these trades, and being able to have that and be prepared is going to double the opportunities that you potentially have. SGBX was another nice one. Oddly strong though. So SGD was coming in, and SGBX held exceptionally well. So that to me is notable. In the event that this continues to hold on Monday and then maybe Tuesday, if there's any PR, we could actually have a really big move here. So again, I do think it just unwinds and it comes apart with SGD. However, I am taking note that it was holding pretty well on Friday, and it should have faded more based on how it ran up with SGD. The fact that it didn't gives me a little bit of pause, and I either need to see it failing to join it, or I'm going to have an open kind of mind in the potential that it ends up going higher. Shot, another one. We've been talking about this one. This one used to be JUPW. Another one of those walk-up trades. So anybody that's paid any attention, I had given a lot of those walk-up, the China liquidation trades on prior videos. I don't do it every single time. It's really up to you to take notes and monitor them. But I gave about a dozen, and already about 25, 30% of them have already liquidated. And again, so, watching this one is already almost doubled, and it's starting to squeeze out. So catalyst and lots of things here, but at some point I think this is going to crash and burn in a big way, but that doesn't mean you can't go broke jumping in front of it. So just be cautious, be aware. But you can see it just started to, tripled basically from a buck to $3 pretty quickly. They churn, get shorts on the wrong side, and then they start to speed it up, force them out, liquidate them, ends up becoming the promotion for them. Failed follow through setups. OPTX is on there for me. This one looks good. I caught it on scan really early and had a nice ABCD type setup. This should look real familiar here to anybody that's paid attention to that setup. Nice all higher lows, and I had mentioned it right over here when it broke through that prior top, and it took off. Now, unfortunately, I did not participate in the trade, but did spot it, did see it, and now it's on my radar. So basically what I'd be looking for on the short side is some sort of exhaustion move versus these levels. So I'd love to see it kind of gap up and push up towards that basically 10 level and then fade back off. I just think it was a situation of shorts getting a little bit too aggressive on Friday, blowing them out, and then fading it back off. AIRE, same deal as we discussed, all pops for the potential of an unwind. I'd be looking for, some sort of push back up. And let me just bring it here. Usually I look for where it was basing and where it had trouble before. So in an ideal world, I'd love to see a gap up. And this ends up being like 990 to 1070s. Big range, but any good push towards maybe 1050s or so. 1050s for continued fade back down. Continuation side of things, I have MRAI up there. Nice consolidation on the daily. We've got the wicks that we talk about. We've got a blowout move. And then it should have died, right? But they soaked it right back up. So this gives me a little bit of pause. Let's just see if it starts to stabilize over the $1 level. And if it does, then we have potential for next level up. And that should look familiar to this ITRM. This was an idea on scan last week. I like this trade versus the 90 cent risk, then 110 risk, and then it just ended up blowing out like crazy. So I think they did some warrants over the weekend or something like that, so just be aware of. But all I'm saying is compare this ITRM sort of setup to the MRAI one as well. TGTX, another nice setup over here. You can see the big day, consolidate, and then over here, they break the stops. This is something I want you guys to kind of see, where they basically kind of get out the rest of anybody that's on the fence, anybody that's price sensitive, right? So they flush it, dip and rip back up, and then the next day, dip and rip back up, and then now we are blowing out shorts again. So I'd be watching all dips as long as 1150s continue to hold trend well, and we'll see what happens with that. LRHC is one of the other ones I've got on watch, and FBIO. You can see that these are all the same setups, and they've been working extremely well. So watch for weak opens. If they gap up and go crazy, then I flip sides. But if they consolidate and hold trend over the next day or two, I'm looking for these for liquidity traps. SPRC, same deal. We've talked about this one. It should look familiar. So you've got basically 14 million shares down to 400,000 shares, down to 300,000 shares, right? So if anybody shorted this day with 14 million shares, there's not enough volume. Yeah, sure, it dipped down, but when you actually look at the volume and you actually see what it is, it could just be a flush 20,000 shares trades, then it's right back up. So if there's not enough liquidity for shorts to cover, and they have another PR or ends up breaking out over the prior highs, and in this case, if it ends up over 720s, have an imagination, because shorts are going to be on the wrong side. So last but not least, CLLS, another one of those charts. It should look exactly like GGTX, right? So another nice opportunity there. Watch dips for the potential of a breakout. 325 being sort of the blue skies. Let it rip, but watch all dips versus maybe that 280 level. 3 as a breakout, consolidates. 325 is the trigger point for potential big squeeze. Note the volume: 75 million shares, 28 million shares, and then now we're barely trading 500,000 shares. So there's the positioning day, let everybody kind of sell out, and then the funds come back in and start to squeeze it back up. No different than CGTX. So be aware of that. And that's about it. We've got lots of other good opportunities setting up, but again, I'm not forcing trades. I'm not trying to find something that's not there. It either comes into my wheelhouse or not. Otherwise, I've just either been, chopping up, donating, losing here and there on trades that are subpar. But the ones that I'm prepared for, that I come to the market and have a game plan for, or I wait, something like CYTO wasn't on radar before, but I wait for it to set up. That's the ones that have been producing in a big way. So anyway, that's it. I will get back to doing t-shirts in a week. It's just been crazy busy. I haven't been looking at the comments, so I apologize for that. But back in the regular swing of things here by next week, I think. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. Leave your key takeaway in the comment section. And I will be picking winners again next week. And last but not least, as I said, make sure you check the description. And that is an early bird special for YouTube and anybody that watches these videos. So you get the first dibs at it. The link will be live tonight, and then it'll be expired and just forward to the Black Friday sales after that once these spots are filled. Have a good weekend. We'll see you guys in the room tomorrow.